Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have everyone here. Thank you very much for everyone that is joining us today. So once again, I'm Irina Roudenko with Remax Jazz. And we also have our very amazing guest that I am so happy to have here, Sherri Corbitt. She's a mortgage broker, actually. And she's really amazing at what she does. She's with the Mortgage Architect. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I love talking about mortgages, and my family doesn't want to hear it, so I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, you know what, and this is a beautiful thing about this is that people will get so much great information about the mortgages, also about some of the other non-traditional ways of financing their properties. So I will just give a quick rundown on the rules, and that is, when we begin, let's just make sure that if you have any questions or comments, just put them on the side of the bar and we will make sure to take them up as we go. And please do note that the meeting is recorded. So we just want to make sure that it can be distributed to others that were not able to make it today. So why don't we do this? I'm going to introduce myself in case if you haven't met me before. So I am a real estate agent with Remax Jazz. I really love my job. One of the things that I love the most is the fact that I can help people not just to look for a home, but also to help them in transition in their life, whether it's going from one home to another, whether it's downsizing, whether it's getting their very first home. And to me, it's not just about buying or selling a real estate home, but it's making sure that I help them in the transition and give the right information and bring the right people to the table. If you have seen the previous video, you probably saw that we actually, through Remax Jazz, have 11 full-time support people that I work with, which is pretty amazing. We also have an in-house stager, and that is to make sure that we really help you in all the needed areas, and also to make sure that you have great experience. And this is why it's important for me to work with people like Sherri, with amazing individuals like Sherri that are professionals at what they do, and make sure that we have a less difficult experience in sometimes very complicated transition in life. So Sherri, why don't you introduce yourself?
Fantastic. So my name's Sherri Corbitt. I'm a mortgage broker. I've been a mortgage broker for 13 years in Durham. I have an office in Brooklyn. I have staff of 3, and we are a robust team of 11. So I'm the broker, and then I have some agents under me. They're independent agents, and together we bring all types of mortgage solutions to clients. I do specialize in first-time buyers for sure, and also people who are separating, very similar type of people who are starting a journey and they need some advice and guidance, and we're all about the education and giving options. So I'm very excited to be here, so thank you for having me, and looking forward to showing you some unique options on getting your down payment saved and different mortgage options. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is great because some of the most often asked questions that I get is, how much of a down payment do I need to buy a home? What if I want to refinance my home and buy maybe an investment property, or, a gift to kids? Nowadays, it happens sometimes. Or what about building my dream home and finding money for that, right? So all of those are really interesting and very important questions. So why don't we start actually at the down payment? So how much of a down payment do people need today?
If you buy for $500,000, it'll be $25,000 on the first 500,000, and it's 10% anything over that. So you need to budget. For example, on $600,000, you need to budget $35,000. That would be your down payment amount. But we can walk all through that. As far as how to get your down payment can come from your own resources, which would be RSPs or savings accounts or tax-free savings. And then you can also be gifted the money from a family member, immediate family member. So we have to be very careful that we're looking at grandparents, parents, maybe siblings. If you get into aunts and uncles or friends, that's a little bit different. And lastly, you could look at something called a flex down mortgage. So if you don't quite have your money saved, you can look to borrow your down payment from a line of credit if you are allowed to do that. What I mean by allowed to do that is you have to have a certain credit score limit, and you have to have a certain amount of income that can support having that line of credit now in the liability section of the mortgage. All things we can talk about for sure. And lastly, a very common one that people do is they might be able to save the down payment, but they haven't quite saved the closing cost money. We can do a cash back mortgage, which will give you some little boost into rebuilding your savings, paying for the closing costs, maybe paying off some debt, or if that house particularly needs some repairs, some work, appliances, a fence, things like that, cash back mortgages are awesome too.
So I see some information here on cashback mortgages. Would you like to share that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
So cashback mortgages, this is just a summary of 3 things that are maybe reasons somebody might want a cashback mortgage and who it's great for. It's for somebody who might need a down payment to pay off debt to be able to buy for a higher purchase. It might be for somebody who is going to be exhausting their savings account and they know once they move in they need the appliances or the air conditioning. Or it might be looking at, after you move in, making sure you have the best cash flow and monthly budget, which we'll go through all slides. If you could flip to the next one, perfect. So this one is an example. If somebody came to me, I wrote the exact same scenario based on their income and what debts they had, and they could be approved for $370,000. But they also had a credit card debt of $15,000 and they had a car payment of $14,000. Then the 3%, that's the limit they could do. But if we could do a cash back mortgage where they could take 3% of that amount, it would boost their purchase price to $450,000. Their down payment goes up a little bit because you still have to have the 5%. The reason it boosts what they can purchase for, and people are like, I don't understand how do you suddenly just go up that large increase? It's because we've removed the car payment from the liabilities. So there's 2 things that the lenders look at. They look at how much the mortgage, property tax, and heat and hydro cost. That plus the second ratio they look at is that plus any consumer debt. And both have a margin they have to stay to. That's called the stress test. So if this number's fine, but this one's too high and we need to bring it down, the cash back will pay off the car and bring this one back into ratio line. That's how that one works.
Yeah, that does make quite a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big difference on what somebody can do. This one is maybe a little bit more. I'll go through the details as much as I can. I'm welcome to do questions afterwards by email if anybody has a question. But if they bought this sample was a $500,000 mortgage at 209% interest, your payment would be $2,139 monthly. But then afterwards, they got to go buy appliances and they take a $10,000 loan at the brick. And it's on a 15% credit card, and it's interest only when you usually pay a credit card, and that they make a monthly payment of $125 on that credit card, but interest only. Versus that client who told me that they might need those appliances or they might need something, I might suggest they do a 2% cash back, because on the $500,000 mortgage, we're in the bottom half of the slide at 254, that 2% cash back will give them $10,000 in hand, and now they don't have that line of credit. Or I'm sorry, that high interest 15%-ish credit card, they only have the one payment. So this one is a little bit of savings on the payment, but it's mainly about not having that high interest credit card.
So it's basically really swapping the bad credit for the good credit, so to
Yes,
speak.
yes, that's a great way to say it.
Perfect. Okay.
And then this one is the one I like the most. Well, I like the first one too. If you were to buy for $600,000 at 209, for example, and your payment was going to be 2566, but you also had a car loan, a credit card, and a line of credit, and I've put some interest rates and some potential payments on the side. All averages, so they're, the credit card could be a higher interest rate, but these are probably average. It's about $3,400 in payments. But instead, if you go ahead and you take a 3% cashback mortgage, which is going to hand you $18,000 on close, and you use that $18,000 to pay off those three debts, which are a much higher interest rate, now your monthly payment's $27.75. That's a huge difference. That's
Yeah,
over a
that is a huge
$600
difference.
in savings, and now you have one payment, not four, not mortgage plus plus plus. You have one payment. So
Yeah.
love this scenario for sure. This one works well to make sure people are very happy with their cash flow once they're in the home.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
I guess my next question would be, and we kind of talked about the traditional mortgage, the pre-approvals, one of the basic questions, and that's actually not that basic. What's a pre-approval? How deep does the pre-approval actually go? Are we looking at checking the credit score? What kind of checks do you go through, and how long is it actually valid for too?
Okay, so pre-approvals are very misleading in the industry. So I want to kind of set it straight about what it is. So pre-approval is when either a mortgage professional like myself, mortgage broker, or a lender has vetted everything out, and they've looked at your income, and they've looked at your credit score, and they understand your debt ratios, they understand what you can qualify for. Then they offer you pretty much a consultation on what you can go and purchase. But in no way is that like money in the bank, because the house itself still has to be approved. And we still, closer to closing, need to prove the down payment is still there, that you didn't run off to Vegas and spend it. Or we also have to do a verbal with your employer closer to closing to make sure that that you're not laid off, that your job matches the letter that we've received, and things like that. So there's due diligence that both the lender, the insurer, and the broker have to do. So pre-approval is your roadmap on what you could purchase, but I do find it misleading that some people think I'm pre-approved, I'm 100% firm, I'm gonna, this is I'm off to the races, and it's still not the case. It's absolutely a vital step. You should 100% have it, because this is going to be the chance that we're going to see what we need to see. I always say that time is your friend when doing a mortgage. So if you are in the beginning stages and thinking, okay, I might not be purchasing this year, but maybe I'll purchase next year, having somebody do the review today will give you the roadmap on how to get there. Like I said, we're going to be able to say, okay, well, your credit's a little weak. Let's do these steps to get it stronger. Or maybe your income is fluctuating, so be very mindful of making sure there's some overtime hours in there so we can gross up this year. Or your savings is a little on the lower side, so let's be aggressive with your savings plan. Time is your friend. We can't fix things if we don't have time to do it. So pre-approvals are absolutely vital, but just be forewarned that they do take into consideration that we don't know the house yet. We don't know the property or the details on that either.
Exactly, exactly. And as you said, the earlier people look into knowing where they are and what they need to do to get to the point where they are ready to buy, the better it is for everyone. And that goes both for the mortgage side of things and for the real estate side of things in the market, because unfortunately, sometimes it does happen that people are looking at something and then they realize pretty much last minute that they cannot afford it, or what they thought that they would get for the money is very different from what the reality is, especially now. For someone that is a first-time home buyer, or not even, but is not used to the market where the asking price is at least 100K over, under the selling price, for a lot of those people, it's a surprise when they realize what is the actual selling price and what they actually get for the money. So it is not a regular situation, but having, an idea on what area you want to be in, how much will it cost actually, and what you get for the money is very important. So this way you're prepared when the time comes, and obviously having the right person by your side, and like yourself, Sherri, that can help them realize how do they get to that final step, and what they need to do is so important. No one likes surprises.
No, not these types. No.
No, absolutely. Well, yeah, so these are, like we said, it's more of traditional ways of looking for financing. But one of the other new ways of finding real estate and finding that real estate dream is by looking at purchasing land and then building on it. So I'm seeing that very, very often right now. And a lot of people don't realize it's not a regular way, financing. It's not traditional way of financing. So how would you advise someone that is looking to do something like that?
Okay, so land purchases with the intent of building are very complicated. So they're not cookie cutter, they're not easy, to slam out, but we are very versed in them. So I can go over a little bit. First of all, your down payment needs to be a minimum 20%, most likely 25 to 35%. So you need to have a larger down payment because it's raw land and a lender doesn't want to get stuck with it should you walk away. Because in the past, maybe not right now in this hot market, they've been harder to sell on foreclosure. So lenders want to have a little bit bigger of the pie in there. The second thing for qualification is you're not living there. So we still have to put what's called a shelter payment in your debts. So when we're looking at your income, we also have to calculate in a rental payment, a mortgage payment if you already have a property, or if you live at home, we do what's called a shelter payment. And that's still, so it's not like if I can get you a $400,000 mortgage and that's your max on a regular home, now we have to look lower than that on the land because we have this shelter payment or rent because you're not living in a tent on the land. And then for the building process, how that works is you have to work with, you can self-build or work with a subcontractor to do that, but you have to have blueprints, you have to have a cost analysis of what the project is going to cost you. Then we go to a lender for what's called a construction loan. Construction loan usually is 4 to 5 draws, they call them. So say, for example, you need $400,000 to build the home. They'll break it up into four payments of maybe $100,000 each. And as you hit these milestones, they'll release that $100,000 to you to get to the next milestone. Then they'll have an inspection, they'll get to the next milestone and so forth until the entire project's done and the entire $400,000 has been withdrawn. And then at that time, you would do a new mortgage, get out of the construction mortgage and into just a regular, now you have a house, with a key. The benefit of the construction loans is that they're usually shorter term. They're anywhere from 9 months to a year, usually, depending on your build schedule. And you only pay on the amount that you've drawn. So if you've only drawn out 200,000 of the 400,000, you're not making a payment on the 400,000, you're making a payment on the 200,000. The downfall to them is that obviously there's a lot more steps. There's an inspection at every time you want the money. They want to make sure that that stage has been completed. So there's an inspection. And also the interest rate's higher because it's a short-term solution and very few lenders do it. So we have to be very mindful of which lender we're looking for. But yeah, they can be done. Just do expect, definitely have that conversation up front with a professional because it's not just, oh, I'll go buy a $150,000 piece of land with 5% down. It's not going to happen.
And then even just buying land itself is such a complicated process in the sense that, you look at some of the listings out there and you see something crazy like, I don't know, 20 acres for 100,000. And then when you actually do the due diligence, you realize that hardly any of it is actually, land you can build on and live on. And a lot of it is, pretty much you can't do anything with it. So, it's important to do that due diligence when you're looking at something like that, realize, what else you need to know about. And another thing too is there's always extras that happen,
Mhm.
especially now with the cost of material being really much more than it was last year.
And
They,
delays, right? Construction
yeah,
delays, things like that.
yeah,
So just tread
exactly,
carefully if you're
exactly.
looking at if you're looking at a self build. Really have lots of conversations. If you're the client, have lots of conversations, have lots of interviews, discuss it, do your research. It's exciting. It's definitely on my bucket list, but it's something you need to really go in wide, eyes wide open.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And what about refinancing? I mean, that's another thing a lot of people are looking at is refinancing their home to buy an investment property, as an example, or you know, give the money to the kids so they can buy a home. Because
Yep.
nowadays, with the prices the way they are, it does happen that the parents help their kids with their first home, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm. So what are the rules for refinancing? What's the process like?
So refinancing is slightly different. You can't refinance more than 80% of the home. So basically, you always have to leave at least 20% of the equity in your home. The other thing is if you're going to be buying an investment home, just because you touched on it, an investment home requires 20% down payment. So a lot of people who want to become into the investment and build their real estate wealth, which is a fantastic thing to do, they will refinance their primary home. We call it their primary home, and they'll take out the equity, at least 20% that they're going to need over here to purchase the investment home. Um, so a little bit about refinancing. We usually try to work with your existing lender and find out what they can offer you. If what they're offering isn't as competitive, then we can absolutely look at switching lenders. If, however, you're in a mortgage that may have a high penalty and you're still a little bit far out from when you want to your maturity date is, we also look at second mortgages too, or lines of credit in second place. They're a great option. So sometimes it might not make sense if you're with a particular one of the bank lenders that has a really high penalty. It might not make sense to pay an $18,000-$20,000 penalty when instead we can set up a second mortgage for maybe 1 year until the maturity comes. Then we're going to roll them together. So love refinances, lots of ins and outs and things we can do. And it's all about how much do you need, what's your value of your home, and what are you currently in. Some lenders, unfortunately, in order to offer like super low amazing rates, they have some handcuffs to them, or at least I call them handcuffs, where maybe that particular mortgage can't be refinanced unless you break it and pay the penalty. You can't do a blend, which means you can't take the 300,000 you owe and add 100,000 to make it a $400,000 mortgage. They'd say, nope, you want this 300, you got to pay it out. So that's something we also have to explore, is what is the terms of your current mortgage. That's why when you are looking for a mortgage, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, please remember that rate is only one line of a 12-page contract. There's other things that are very vital in a contract that we have to look at. So all right, that's my little soapbox
That
for the
I love it. I love it. Don't take the rate just for all it is, because there's more to it. And that's so true. Sometimes people get really hung up on the rate and they forget about all the other costs and all the other things to consider. So what about this beautiful thing that you told me about, which is Shut the Front Door program?
shut the
I love
front door.
it. I'm going to share actually what I have here from you. I thought, we have to talk about it.
Okay, so first of all, I should let you know this is like ninja level brokering, which I'm excited to bring to people. We only started it, I made this program up in about February, and we've used it quite successfully a couple times. So the concept of shut the front door is really easy. And this will show what it is. So if you were going to buy your home, let's use this example. So you wanted to buy a home and it's going to be 500,000. So your down payment needs to be 25,000, but you only have $5,000 saved because you're paying rent and life is happening and you just haven't been able to save that down payment. So how do we get you that extra $20,000? It's actually quite easy as long as you have time. Time is, see, again, we're back to that time is on your side. If you
What
qualify,
you're saying is time is money.
right? It's important. So what we do is we get a line of credit from a bank for $20,000. That's what you're short. And we take the $20,000 from that line of credit and we invest it into an RSP because you're a first time buyer, meaning that you can qualify using the RSP program, meaning RSPs can come from your down payment can come from RSPs. So now you have a $20,000 loan, but we're going to deal with it in a minute. You have $5,000 that's already saved, that's your money, and you have $20,000 put into the RSP. So now you have $25,000 saved. So you've got your down payment now, and you got $5,000 loan or a $20,000 loan. So how do we get rid of this? So when you go to close your mortgage, we're going to circle back to that cashback mortgage that we already talked about. We're going to take a 3% cashback mortgage. So on this, for example, if we were to do the $500,000 mortgage, your cash back would be about $15,000. So that $20,000 line of credit is now down to only $5,000. It's not that much. But remember that $20,000 you put in your RSPs? Well, guess what happens at tax time when you go to file and you have RSPs put in? You get a good tax refund that'll pay off the rest of the line of credit. So now you've essentially borrowed $20,000 to put into RSPs, and you've used the cashback mortgage product to pay off that line of credit along with the tax break you get for putting money into an RSP. It's like wham, bam, here's some free money. The things you need to know about this program is that you won't get the tax refund until you file your taxes. So if we did this in, say, September, you're not going to see that benefit until March or April next year, that tax refund benefit. But that's okay because time's your friend. You want the money in the RSPs. The other thing is that you do have to pay the RSPs back over the next 15 years while you're living in the home, but those RSP that you're paying back is to your own retirement savings. So you're just paying yourself back and building a nest egg. It's a really great program for the right people. It is hindering on one, being qualified for a line of credit from a bank, which most people can get qualified for. On being a first-time buyer where we can use the RSPs as a contribution plan, and on the cashback mortgage product, which at this time is available, and it's a 3% cashback mortgage. So as long as that all lines up, this is a fantastic program, and I call it shut the front door because
I love it.
Exciting. I love it. Very exciting.
I love it. A lot of first-time home buyers, I could completely see them loving it. So we just gotta get the word out there.
And the other key to this is that I should add a little asterisk is that wherever you put your RSP money, so you're going to take that $20,000, you're going to buy RSPs, you have to have an upfront conversation with that financial planner that your intent is to purchase a home within the following 6 months, a year, whatever it might be, so that they make sure that they put you in something that those RSPs are withdrawal, that you can withdraw them again, and that that any fees are very low. I work with some financial advisors that can definitely assist with that, or I'm sure we have somebody great that we can work with.
Absolutely. It's good that you mentioned that, because some people might look at it and say, yay, free money. And, yes, I'll have to pay it back, but why don't I make double of that and just put it into some crazy stocks? So people don't.
Right. I do see a question in chat, so I'm just going to address that.
Yes.
The cashback mortgage is for purchasing, not refinancing. So it doesn't have to be a first-time buyer. If you are purchasing, you're still eligible for the cashback with the couple lenders that do have it. So you may not, and then the second question came in about, could you do this on the refinance? You might not be able to do the cashback on the refinance portion of the mortgage. But perhaps we might be able to do it on the purchasing of the second home. If it's an investment home, a disclosed investment home, we might not be able to do it there. So no, the cashback may not work on refinancing. It's for purchasing. It's for insured mortgages.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So now that we talked about so many things, a lot of information, and like I said in the beginning, this is going to be recorded, and I will have this great webinar in a YouTube format, hopefully in about a week's time. So I will make sure that everyone that is registered and anyone that told me they're not able to attend it, they will have a copy of that as well. So you can definitely look at it again, but even better, contact myself and contact Sherri just to make sure that you can get all that information and more, and answer all the questions. And now to finish it off, last thing, I know the time is running out. So any last minute advice?
My best advice is to remember that time is your friend, no matter what you're doing. If we're looking at a purchase, if we're looking at a refinance, if you want to know anything, if you're worried about your credit score, if you're worried about your down payment, your savings, anything, having a conversation sooner, even if your plan is a year out, is always good, because if you don't have a plan, how are you going to get there? So time is your friend. People are always like, oh, I don't want to bug you, I know you're busy, but conversations I have today are vital for mortgages that are going to come together next year. So I want to have those conversations. You're not bothering me. It's okay. I think that's a big myth in the industry, is that people are like, I can't bug somebody if I don't want the mortgage yet, and that's untrue. Well, I don't know, at least it is for me. I am here to answer questions, so time is your friend on that one.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Could not agree more on that. Thank you very much, Sherri. Thank you everyone for joining us. And I am definitely looking forward to more conversations. So just watch for new upcoming webinars that are coming, and to get you more informed. And that's really the goal of this, and Sherri's and my goal and upcoming webinars. So thank you very much. Hopefully you're going to have an amazing week, and we'll see you later.